comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So the podcast is coming out a little bit late today because I was on the fucking train again all day for fucking 12 hours. Then it got in a little bit late. Then I had to catch a fucking bus home from Central Station, and by the time I got home, it was already fucking 10 o'clock. So apologies to those who wake up in the morning and listen to the Boy Owl. Fuck, it is good to be home. That train, I'm not too sure if it's worth it. That's a long fucking train trip. But it was $170 return, where the flights on the exact same dates were about $480. So it definitely was worth it, but I'll be planning my next trip down to Melbourne a lot earlier. The train as well, there's a lot of mentally ill people. That's all I can say. I would say over 50% of the people in my carriage had something going on. There was a guy behind me who was speaking at like the top of his voice for everything. Some old lady sat down next to him. He's like, "Hi, how are you?" She's like, I'm well, how are you?" He's like, "I like to go bird watching." And she's like, "Oh, do you? And then she goes, "Have you noticed if there's a decrease in the population of birds these days?" And that completely fucking threw him out. And I was like, don't ask follow-up questions, bitch. Just let that ride. But she was a polite old lady, and I guess she wanted to know about the bird populations. And he goes, some species there's more and some species there's less. And then he's like, "Do you smoke?" She's like, "No, I've got enough problems without smoking." He's like, "I smoke. I'm going to quickly get out next stop and have a few puffs and then get back on." So he was behind me. Then there was a dude in front of me. He was fucking cooked. I accidentally kicked his foot and he turned around and like stared at me like I'd fucking assaulted him. And then some fat lady came on board to sit next to him, and she's like, "I'm there." So she was basically saying, can you get up because I'm too fat to squeeze past you. She was a big lass. But he misheard her. He thought she said, "I'm there," like where you're sitting. And he's like, "No, I've been sitting here since Melbourne. I got on this morning here and I haven't moved." And all his fingernails are painted black as well. And he's got like some weird tattoos. And she's like, "I'm there." And he still didn't get it. He's like, "No, this is my seat." He's like, "You must be sitting there." And she's like confused. She was Indian. She's like, "Oh, okay." "Okay, yeah, I'll sit there." And he's like, "Yeah, sit there." And then she waited for him to get up so she could go past and sit down. But he never got up. So she just had to fucking squeeze past, just ass in his face. So that was behind me and in front of me. And then just the people walking up and down the aisles. Just cooked units. There was one guy who had headphones on and long hair, and he was like dancing up and down the aisle. Yeah, I'm not fucking catching the train again, I don't think. I was sitting next to some nice old guy who wanted to strike up a conversation, but I just didn't have it in me. So it's good to be home. It's good to be anywhere other than behind John Doe's fucking couch, to be honest with you. I'm going to give myself an easy day tomorrow just to ease into it, because I haven't had good sleep. I had McDonald's today, and Saturday night and Sunday day, I smoked quite a lot of darts. So I'm just going to give myself some time to heal tomorrow. I'm not going to be doing anything strenuous. I'm just going to look after myself, rehydrate, get some good sleep, eat some nutrients, and then Wednesday I'll get back to jiu-jitsu and everything. Anyway, that's enough of that shit. Let's move on to this week's Ask Boyle. It is Ask Boyle time. So if you have a question that you would like answered by one of the greatest minds of the generation, comedian, philosopher, Craney Le Boyal, then head to my website, boylecomedy.com. There's a section there for Ask Boyle. You can type it in, or you can go to Drunk Dial and voice record your question like this week's listener did. Here it is.
Yo, David. It's your boy Johnny from across the pond in the UK. So my question is, and I'm sorry if you might have already covered this, but and I missed it somehow like a retard. But in your earlier episodes, you used to start off the podcast by saying, "Hello, my name's comedian David Boyle. I'm quitting alcohol, and it's not my choice." Or if you think it's my choice, then you got it all wrong. What happened, man? How come you stopped saying that it wasn't your choice? Whose choice was it? Was it someone else's choice? Was there one particular incident that made you quit? Or was it just a build-up of multiple incidents? Or did someone say something to you? Or what happened, man? I want to know the story behind whose choice it was and why you stopped saying that. Peace.
Well, Johnny, my man, you have come to the right place. So at the start of the podcast, I do remember saying, I'm quitting alcohol, but not by choice. It's been a long time since I listened to those old episodes. I don't really go back and listen to any episodes, but I do remember saying that. So what I meant by that was I'd let alcohol get so far on top of me. It had got so far out of my control that the decision to keep drinking or not had been taken out of my hands. So it wasn't my choice. For me, honestly, the decision was life or death. That was my choice. I could have chosen death, but really, when it comes down to a life and death decision, it's not really your choice anymore. I suppose you can choose death. I felt like I was literally going to die, and spiritually going to die, and emotionally going to die, and obviously physically die. If I'd continued drinking, I would have lost everything. I would have lost my wife, my kid, all my friendships. I would have just ended up by myself in a room somewhere, drinking myself to death. Who knows how long the actual physical death would have taken, but when you've chased everyone you know and love away and it's just you and the drink, you're pretty much dead already. When you've got nothing other than drinking to get you through, then that's dead to me. So that's what I meant by it. I had no other choice left. It's not my choice anymore. I didn't mean it like someone pushed me into it or anything like that. It was just I was so fucking dumb. I had abused alcohol so much that it came to a point where the decision to continue to drink or not had been taken out of my hands. That's what I meant by it. And if you want to hear the long story of how I gave up drinking, I did a series called The Process. I did it every Saturday for 13 weeks last year. But you can type in The Process, and I released them all back to back. I went into great detail describing the whole process I went through to finally give up drinking. So check that out. Thanks for the question, Johnny. That'll do for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around, and I'll see you the fuck later.